And today we are going to proceed with the topic that we started last time on solving problems. Today in the world, I think the most commonplace thing we see is problems. At some point in life, by the way, I asked myself, and I was young, I think it was primary school, or just in between primary and secondary, because I took a year before getting to secondary school. I was asking myself, how about life without a problem? And I realized that this was my own answer. I didn't ask anybody that life would be very boring. That life would be very boring. Everything smooth, everything working as should be. That life would not have any creativity. We would not have any new things. We would not have new solutions. We would not be inventive. And I don't think that is the life that a human being wants. And so the subject of problem and problem solving is actually one that I think I've studied for a long time. And last time, for people coming for the first time, we usually start by reading text. We read from a book, Live Your Dream. At the moment, Live Your Dream in 7 Days by Otieno Peter. So we started from how to solve problems, and we read all this place. Failing to try is more serious. Failure is a more serious failure. When you get started, when you give it a shot, you give it your heart, you put your all. Running away from a problem does not solve a problem. And we came all the way and we started discussing the various steps that we use to solve problems. And number one was definition of the problem. We must clearly identify the problem. What really is the problem? Sometimes what we think is the problem isn't really the problem. Yeah. So we must find where the problem is. I remember when I was working with Africa Online, part of the joke that we had in IT was sometimes the problem is in between the desk and the computer. The problem is not the internet, not the computer, but they are in between. Yeah, whoever is seated there. So identifying a problem is a very important step. And then we moved on to number two. Yeah, seeing much, suffering much, and studying much are the three pillars of learning by Benjamin Disraeli. And we moved on to number two, which is what can I do? I now know the problem. Is it something I'm familiar with? Is there anything I can do? And the moment we know what to do, then at least we can do it. We can start doing it. If you do not take action, possibly no one else will. Taking up responsibility. Yeah. If you sought the counsel of a mentor, nothing happens if you do not act on it. Yeah. We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them. That's Albert Einstein. So the moment you have identified the problem or problems and accepted responsibility, find what you can do about it and do it quickly. Get on, because you do not have all the time. And one of the few things you can do in solving problems follows in the question below. And this is where we need to get started. What can I read? So somebody can pick it from there to read for us.
Okay. What can I read? Finding answers to life or business problems is not a straightforward affair. It takes the same old effort and determination. It takes the same old effort and determination. But as long as you truly have a burning desire to live your dream, it is very doable and the journey very exciting. You become, to an extent, a researcher. You will have to read some things on your own and figure out the solutions. You must accept that some problems can be fairly unique in your situation, and thus the bit of figuring out from the clues you may get from the books. At times, solution will come as a flash of insight as long as you keep pondering over the problem and concentrating your mind on the extract outcome you expect. Even the most difficult problems are solved in this manner: persistent and consistent reading and thinking. That is what others call mediating on the problem. Solution can come even in your sleep or during a church service or anywhere. It will just strike you, but you must put in effort, at least mentally, to realize this. People like John D. Rockefeller and Henry Ford used this method to solve their complex business problems. This method is still effective today. In my case, it was my inability to sell which was hindering my progress and stealing my dream. I could hardly sell a product. Money only comes when we sell. Remember, no matter the trade you are involved in, and a business without money is like a human being without blood. It has no life. So after noticing that I was the problem, and knowing exactly that in order to live my dream of financial freedom, I had to learn and master how to sell, I knew exactly what to do. Learn how to sell, whatever it takes. Armed with determination that knows no quitting, with a consuming desire to achieve my goals and dreams, I immediately immersed myself into reading and studying and practicing. That was my dawn into the self-help industry. I read quite a good number of books, listened to different speakers and trainers in the field, and practiced as much as I could. Do not get me wrong, I still keep studying and learning, as already mentioned. In the School of Success, we do not graduate. And besides, I had declared myself a student of life for life, always studying and learning ways of life, ways that produce success. I have a great passion for learning and sharing knowledge. That is how I became a trainer, a business coach, teaching business skills, and a public speaker, studying, practicing, and seeing what works and what does not work and why. A quote, "Your results are a function of your thoughts and your activities." That is, R is equal to T plus A by Otieno Paul Peter. I became very good at selling, and this immediately started showing in my business. My product started moving, and up to now, I have not had any difficulties achieving my monthly targets and shall probably never. I love selling so much that I have since taught many how to sell and compiled manuals on the same. The same principles I did learn, employed, and still use, I have passed on to many people in the business world. Today, I can afford to say I love selling. That was unimaginable then. It has become one of my pet subjects. Besides solving sales problems, I have had to ensure I keep customers I acquired. From practice, analysis, and some sort of iteration plus studies, I have kept my customer base very solid. That was the beginning of my interest in training business. Every time I see a business having issues, I know there is a problem with some of those essential skills. It reached a point whenever I even went to a restaurant, a shop, or a stall, It was easy for me to figure out whether the business was likely to collapse in a few months or prosper eventually. Dear reader, you too can solve any problem by reading about it and listening to people who are doing it, who have done it and succeeded. You just need to make a decision on how to keep your learning curve positive. Keep the attitude of learning and seeking solutions. Have fun doing it. All skills are learnable, said by Brian Tracy, and success leave tracks. So if you know what you really want, you can always maneuver your way and find the right solutions for your problem without listening to rumors or surrendering. It is possible.
Whom can I ask? This is the final stage, according to me. Asking at this time, you already know exactly what your problem is and the type of solution you're looking for. It is important to know that even when you are reading, it is like asking because someone wrote that book. Even by searching on the internet, you're still asking. But strictly speaking, here I actually mean going to some real person and asking questions. Again, it's important to know the right person to ask. This solution is #1 strategy to a great majority. They simply do not want to research. They hate reading and studying. They want quick fixes. If you hurriedly ask, more so, wrong people will most likely end up with wrong answers. If you want it, you can get it. That's Giant's team slogan. Notice that advice is the cheapest commodity trading around. Everyone gives advice, including failures and fools. Well, it's not that failures should not give advice. They should. Perhaps they'll assist you in avoiding a pitfall. You only need to know their honesty. They should teach you what can make you fail rather than what can make you succeed. More so if they are really analytical. But it is important to know the type of failure we're talking about. A failure in this context is someone who either failed to start or failed to finish. He or she could also be someone who is getting the results you don't want to get, or who is not happy with his or her life. Ensure the person you're asking is the right person to ask. Many people ask the people they know, the people they trust or love. Trust is not the only qualification here. Knowledge is. If it is a medical problem, ask a medical practitioner, whether a friend, relative, or whoever. It does not matter. Just ask. If it is a building problem, you could ask a builder, an architect, or a civil engineer. That is someone who is experienced in that field. If it is a business problem, you may not want to necessarily ask an MBA lecturer in a university. Ask a business person. Real life problems are solved by real life solutions, not theories. And real life solutions come from experience. That is why when you're looking for a surgeon, you do not want an intern to operate on you. Attend lectures, seminars, talks, and workshops on the same. If it is selling, ask real sellers with experience. More so, those with results you'd like to have. Your mother may not be the best person to ask unless she's doing exactly what you want to do. But guess whom we mostly run to for advice? Parents, religious leaders, teachers, relatives, among others. No wonder we hardly get solutions to our real life problems. Sometimes it's because we want it free. We do not want to pay anything. So we often get advice at no pay, which is worth no pay. not unless you're really lucky. You could be lucky to have some mentors in the field to give it for free, though in many instances, you may need to book for that meeting and spend some time with them, perhaps buying lunch or coffee, so you pay in time or otherwise. Bottom line, before you ask, know whom you're asking. In short, identify the problem, get the root cause, see what you can do about it, find something you can read, get someone you can ask. Almost all problems shall be solvable in this manner with a positive mindset. I can stop
Thank
there.
you very much. Thank you very much, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We can reach there, and we can start a discussion on that. What stood out for you? What you've picked, and then we move on. I actually feel very inspired by that very text, though it's my text. I just love it. Okay, let's hear what you people got. Thank you. Who wants to start?
Good morning. Can I start today?
Yes, please. Long time. Get started.
Thank you very much, OP. So first of all is to appreciate the reading that we have done today, especially on the fact of the importance of consulting practitioners or people who are in the field. But on the other hand, I want to there is a place you have said it's not necessary to consult MBA or theories, etc. And I wanted to argue that even what you are doing today, like this discussion, is of course you're a practitioner, but what you are reading is like a theory that you are putting across, and what we are discussing is partly that. So I wanted to just argue that sometimes it is good to consult practitioners, but sometimes they might not be reachable, and that is why we read what they have practiced, and maybe that is why we read, even people do MBA to read what other people have done. People are very far away, and even theories of what has worked. So I wanted just to, on one hand, agree with your assertion that it is good to consult practitioners, but at the same time, also to post that there are some theories which have really worked, and we should not just throw them aside. Thank you very much, OPP. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maurice. And that's why we said sometimes it's not just right. And I think part of what should come out is you don't go to one person consultant. That is the end of it. And this is more predominant when you more pronounced when you're talking about, for example, medication or medical advice. That's why nowadays it's popular to say, let's seek a second opinion, a third opinion, something like that. One thing I've learned is, and this has come out of experience, is that they are very perfect or very beautiful pieces of advice that are not very practicable. And by the way, it's good to note that at Live Your Dream, we love this word practicable as opposed to just practical. It's something you can immediately put into practice and use. And by the way, I've consulted for people across board, and there is something more so in business that is more real life. Yes. For example, last year I attended some training. It's a big training and labeled, it's an international ILO training. And now we are learning business, how to get people started in business and whatever. People do it for certification. And I realized that most of the things we are learning are more theoretical. They can't work in the ground because I've done exactly what I was going to be taught. And I learned that people who've not been in real business, if you want to have a business problem, a business solution, ask them, but then also go ask somebody who is doing the business. They will give you from experience what has really worked. Last year again, I was mentoring some other business people, and I came across very interesting facts. Yeah, and I'll tell you, for example, one of them was running a big water business, distributing water to various people in their houses. And he was telling me, you know, most of these people you meet talking about water, they don't know much about water. Yeah, they don't know. They've not been able to solve my problem. I had to look for my own ways, studying, researching to get a solution to my own problems. These people, I called almost all of them, the people you know in the industry, they don't know these problems. They don't deal with them. You see? So from that person, you will be very much able to solve your problem. Now, part of what we were discussing with him again was how to raise fund for business. And we are just doing a conversation. And this is what he told me. You know, which year, some year there, I went to a friend. Part of what people learn in raising funds in business, you will read about 3 F's: family, friends, and fools, if you are getting started in a business. Yes. So we were discussing something like that. He told me, you know, one thing, at one point when I wanted to start this business, I was raising money. We were in a men group, a group for men. So I went and shared with them the idea. They were very excited and people were ready to get started. But when it came to the time of putting money into it, I remained alone. And I went to another friend of mine, and then this is what he told me. He told me, come tomorrow at whichever the time, I don't remember, I think around 9 a.m. They were to meet somewhere. So when they met, this guy picked him and walked with him to a bank and called the bank manager. They went to the bank manager's office. Then he told him, this is your friend. This is your only friend when it comes to raising money and building your business. And he's telling, that is the only thing that has worked for me all these years. I tell you, dear friend, you will consult everywhere, but get to know whom are you consulting? Have they walked that road? Thank you, Morris. And I love always the angle that you bring. It makes me think. Great. Yeah, let's have a contribution. Let's have a contribution. Yeah, Muridi and Jambi. Good. What stood out for you?
What I gathered, OPP, was do not just go on a spree of consulting. You need to consult the right people who have done it, people who have had experience about it, and not just people who have experienced it, people who have had results having done it. So that for me was a key takeaway. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And by the way, we said that the procedure, this is a process I recommend. It may not appeal to you. Well, John, we get it. It may not appeal to you, but this is the process I recommend. You first must get to identify what the problem is. Enough of us will rush to go consult even without knowing what the problem is. So we first start by identifying the problem, and then we can ask ourselves, what can I do? And many times, if it's something that you have experienced before, you've interacted with before, you may be able to get the answer to what can I do. And then thereafter, you are unable to figure out what to do, you start researching, studying, finding what you can read. And I know enough people don't like reading. Many times we talk about reading with people, they say, I don't have time. Apparently, this guy has time to watch TV and read all the social media, read WhatsApp messages, forwards, Twitter, everything else but reading. and they are also serious about succeeding, apparently. And then from that point on, you go to whom can I ask? And that is why we are saying again, asking also entails even reading, because you're still consulting the book that the person who wrote the book. Sometimes you may want to reach somebody to ask, but you can't reach them, maybe only through their books, maybe only through their videos somewhere. So that is part of asking. So, but that is the process. That is the process. Great. Liz. Liz, what would you like to say about today?
Well, today it is actually speaking to me in many ways, especially to start with the initial paragraph about the customers and books and data, keeping data for the customers and all that. That is one thing we do, and sometimes we also forget maintaining a customer portfolio. Sometimes I do sales, insurance sales. Sometimes we are busy looking for more instead of also trying to maintain what already you have. Secondly, about the identifying of the problem. Sometimes even in life, we just wade through and don't sit down and think and try and be clear on really what is ailing me. So I think this today's discussion is really hitting the core. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, how have you people been solving your problems? Cecily, it would be good to hear your voice. It's been a while. How have you been solving it, and how does this rhyme with your formula?
Hi, PB.
Yes, Jabez, go ahead.
Thanks for this. When I heard about the topic of problem solving, I'm in a relatively technical sector. What we do, we have something that we call RCPS, root cause problem solving system, where you, in the industry where I work, normal problems would be, for example, a motor has broken, maybe the system for production has broken down and you're not able to produce what you're supposed to produce. So it's more technical as opposed to the social aspect of problems. So what we do, we start by listing the possible root causes. And then after enlisting all the possible root causes, then we choose for a maximum of 2 possible causes of where the problem is coming from. And then we put it on a fishbone diagram. In the fishbone diagram, then we decode the problem now based on given parameters. Is it the process that we didn't do correctly? Is it the measurement that is an issue? Is it the people? Is it the machine? Yeah. Is it the method of measurement? You know, or is it the environment that is not okay? So based on that, then we seek for solutions. This is then recorded so that in future, if a similar issue occurs, then we have a point of reference. We know how this is supposed to be sorted out. But again, the actions which are taken from this problem solving session are geared towards ensuring that the same does not recur in future. So I know it's slightly different from what you're discussing, but it's still a method or a way of dealing with problems. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jabez. By the way, it's very similar. And the first time I developed this process, it was from a technical background. I was teaching IT. and always solving problems. I was with IAT, and I learned that we could run into problems again and again. And I wondered why Africans don't record their previous solutions. You see, you run through the same problem again and again, and you repeat it. And you'll realize that people run through the same problems in life, by the way, in their lives. The same problem you had in January last year is the same problem you have in January this year, is the same problem you will have in January next year. And it's ridiculous. So your procedure works very well. It's called, and I learned something similar also in my postgraduate, root cause analysis. And that is what we start with. What really is the problem? Yeah, what really is the problem? What you are adding at the end, which I've not included here, is documentation. Yeah, that is always, I think it's always a 6-step process, documentation, so that you know it. And that's why when we are starting from asking what really is the problem, and then what can I do, you're going into your data. Have I experienced it before? How did I solve it before? Yeah. So we must identify a problem, and then we start, and some of the problems can be automated, or the solutions can be automated. Like yours can be automated at some points, where you know that if I see this particular color, I know I did not add this enough. If I see this particular feature, I know it is this which did not go well. So and it becomes much easier to diagnose. Out of experience over time, I know that if it tastes like this, then this is like, you know, cooking. If it tastes like this, it means it is salt, which was excess. If it's this color, then it means this is what the problem was. So some problems are fairly repetitive, and the solution based on our experience before and what is documented should be very much easy to pick in. Yeah, thank you very much for that contribution. Good morning.
Thanks for this meeting. I have missed the last couple of meetings for various reasons, but and sorry I joined a bit late today, but the problem solving one is really something I need to up my game. As you said, the documentation is the main problem. Interesting that I'm now doing my own business at work. I would really document. But now, like the other day, I was looking at someone who had ordered something from me, and I didn't have records of their previous orders. So you are not even sure where to approach them, because they say, give me the product I requested last time. Then I checked and I couldn't find what she had requested. So that I found is a weakness I need to work on. And my take-home point today is about consulting the experts, because sometimes we just consult people maybe who are in the same business but have not succeeded. So it's two blind people leading each other. So that's my take-home. I need to consult the successful people, the experts in the field. Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, sometimes I'm very jittery about the term experts. And that's why we bring in the element of meditation. And if you remember previous readings, you said you missed some, but previous readings, you have the book you can read, is also you listen to your heart. And as I mentioned here sometimes back, some answers will come as a revelation or an epiphany moment, aha moment, because you've been meditating. Some people know, like the Archimedes principle, how he got it, maybe in the bathroom, showering. Some answers just pop in. And to me, what works sometimes, more so if they are difficult, not real life problems. They are problems that are philosophical. Wait, Daniel, you are making some noise. Yeah, problems that are more philosophical, like my problem in the recent past has been, you know, sometimes I have really interesting problems. Like Why is it that when Jesus rose, as we are told, his own disciples he lived with for years were not able to identify him? And it took me ages until last week, but one or something like that, an answer came to me that was satisfactory. I said this to somebody, then she told me, please, I've been wondering, give me that answer. So I'm not going to get into that discussion. But what I'm trying to say is some answers come out of meditation over time, and you're listening to your heart. You're listening to your guide. There is a friend of mine who insists, no, you are listening to the Holy Spirit. And I love using this idea of listening to your heart, because I don't know whether the people I'm talking to, some of them may not be conversant with the language of spirituality or Holy Spirit. So I use general terms. You listen to what your heart is saying. You meditate over it, you ponder over it even as you read, and then you come to an answer. I was saying that I was imagining this terminology of experts, and this is why I'm saying an expert is not necessarily somebody with all the knowledge that exists in the field. The other day I was giving an example of, imagine the Israelites consulting an expert about how to cross Red Sea. They've reached there, and they're wondering now, why did you bring us here? So who is an expert here in hydrology, in water and all these aquatic science? Tell us, how can we cross at this point, this number? It doesn't make sense. Yeah. So some solutions will come out of sheer meditation and prayer, we can call it. We want water, we are in the desert. So this is why we are saying, when you're asking people, you ask people who are doing exactly what you're doing. I'm selling water. I may want to go and ask somebody who is doing the same business. I am having a problem with customers. I may want to ask somebody who is doing a business also, not necessarily same business, and is handling customers or has handled them. Like we are saying, most of the things we share, they are things that we have tried and we've seen in real life. And that's why it's not just going to do analysis and everything, but what is it that works? So that is very, very important. Thank you, Cecily. Like now you are building your own experience, you're working on your own database, and by the end of the day, you will know this one works. Oh, at some point, a customer may just send an email and say, I want a similar order, please bring it. But you have no record, so you need to record. You need to know your customers. That is what we talk about, knowing customers. I always know my customers, by the way, and I know what they order. And I know, and I know at what point and I could be having a variety of products, but I know so and so only relates with this, and this is how they order it. And that will tell you that with every customer, you deal with them uniquely. There is no relationship that is shared. Every relationship is a business, is a unique relationship. So you cannot treat people the same way. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Yes, somebody else would like to say something about what we've read. There is something also we've read. I've just mentioned meditation, which was part of it. That money only comes when we sell. And this is something that enough people do not know, that sales starts with personal selling. And all the monies that we earn under the sun will depend on how much we are good at selling, or what some other people might call at another level, branding. How do you position yourself? How do you sell? How do you sell your product yourself and all that? So that is very critical to know in solving problems. Enough of problems are leadership or sales related. And even when you are selling an idea to other people, very good also to note that. Yes, somebody else?
Thank you, Paul. Peter, I think for me, it's my first time being able to attend this meeting. And I think what has stood out for me is, if you want it, you can get it. There's the will that has to come within you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you want it, you can get it. That was our motto at some point. We had a team called Giants Team. Anthony Meridinos. Yes, yes. Njambi says it's already up there. And nuance from a text, importance of presence of mind, and clarity in solution provision. Real problems requiring practical, real solutions. Thank you. Yes. Elsie, what would you say? I know you solve problems daily.
And it's all about identifying the problem. I guess that's where it is. And then not generalizing the solution. That's what I'm hearing. There's a way we say one size fits all, but what I'm hearing is just be cautious to identify the problem, name it, and then now look for the solution.
Yes, yes, identifying the problem. That is the first point. And I think there is somebody who said that a problem identified is a problem half solved. Most times, if we can't identify a problem, we will never solve it. And by the way, this is something that sounds quite obvious, but you'll be surprised how many people do not know really what the problem is. It's a big thing. I've seen it many times. I'm experiencing a problem with my business. I think government is the problem. Yeah, I think economy is the problem. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. So identifying a problem is a very big step. Yes, Daniel Odhiambo Olale.
Good morning. I've also been
morning.
missing in action. I'm glad to be back. Yeah, I think I picked two very important points from today's discussion. Number one is problem solving, especially as professionals, we're always looking for money. Either we want money to make money or we have money and we want to expand money. And I like that quote whereby you say that there's a friend who was consulted for money, said, yes, join me. And you thought that you or whoever was asking for the money thought that he was going to get the money straight from that person's bank account or his pocket. But the guy took him to the bank and said, this is your best this is your best friend. And that's why we always go wrong. We always go to friends. We always go to colleagues when you look for money. Yet, if it's a business venture and you believe in it, actually, the bank is the best place. And that one will make you be even more disciplined and even they have that motivation and inspiration to work hard. I had a friend who once I went to that friend to ask also for money for some small business I was trying to do. And the guy told me, gave me a challenge of my lifetime. He told me, can you decide on which one do you value more, our friendship or this money you want? So I told him, I was taken aback, and I told him I would rather keep our friendship so that now we just, if the issue of money comes, that one we look at. And I think that's very, very important. And then the other point also is that we must look for advice from the right people. At times we go and we get advice from the wrong people. And we just end up being, sorry to use the scripture, we end up being like Moses, who was going round and round in circles. We need to get the right advice from the right people at the right time for the right thing. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. You've mentioned quite important things. You reminded us quite important things. And starting from where you picked it is from whom we pick advice. My experience had been that people like to ask their relatives and friends. And you wonder why. Well, they should and they can ask, but sometimes you're asking somebody who is not experienced in the field. You want to buy a car, you're going to ask your friend who also has no car, by the way, has not bought one, and is not a mechanic. Yeah, which one is good? Yeah, I love this one, the Prado, whatever. This is a strong car. And you are, where did you learn all this? You see, what is your experience about the same? Yeah, somebody wants to take a course in the university, and they go to maybe an uncle or the mother. Or you see, if I want a particular course, I'd rather go to somebody who is doing that course, or somebody who is experienced in that particular field. I want to do civil engineering. I may want to know what does it take, or somebody who's done engineering. They will tell me a better perspective, what you need. Not yesterday, but on Saturday, I was mentoring some children. We usually do this in Rotary. And enough of them were asking, I was asking them, they are in secondary school, what is it that you want to be? What is it that you want to do? And now I'm checking against their grades, and I'm telling them, you know, if you are going to do this particular course, you need this. They call them subjects. You need this subject, you need this subject, and you must pass. There is what we call cluster. They've never heard of something called cluster. Now, if you go talking to, they go talking to somebody who has no experience in that, the best they can be given is motivation. Yes, everything is possible. Work hard for it. Yes, but they don't know. Another one told me he wanted to do, is it some form of engineering? And I was asking, so what do you need to do this? He's telling me at least a C+ in maths. You what C in what? I told him, you will never even see the gates of the university with such grades. You see, so unless you want to do it in some small technical, whatever, some certificate course. So it's good to know that the people we seek advice from, they should be people who have some know-how in that subject. The other thing you mentioned is about friendship and money. And it's quite an important thing I learned in business. If you are selling products, and more so consumable products, money breaks lots of friendships. Yeah. Somebody starts avoiding you. And when I was working with business people, somebody running a shop, you realize that the people who keep their debts the most are their friends. Coming, will be paying end of the month, then there is a story, and then there was a funeral and whatever, and by the end of the day, the guy starts buying elsewhere. So that friend of yours was quite real. Sometimes when I'm talking about money, I tell people, when you are borrowing people money, or loaning people, you're lending people money, give them what you won't mind if they don't refund. Otherwise, you will put your friendship into trouble. How much that works for you is not, is your own business. You are the one to introspect, but that is what I've experienced when it comes to such affairs. Thank you for bringing it up. Yes, we have 5 minutes left.
I just want to share an experience.
Yes.
On Saturday, I was having some meeting somewhere, and definitely I would introduce myself, my name, and I'll go back to what do I do. And so I said I do insurance. And this person was busy now giving me advice on insurance and the way they perceive it and everything. And this is somebody who has really no knowledge of what insurance is. And that is every day, that is what we face. You tell somebody you need a medical cover, you try to explain why do you need the medical cover, and you realize that they have so much information which is wrong, and they do not want to listen to the correct information. So sometimes when you say people should consult people who have the know-how is there, but it's the attitude of the people who are not ready to consume or to receive the technical maybe advices people are giving. That is my contribution.
Yes, that is there. And again, there is also a possibility of listening and getting feedback from people. And more so people, if you are doing sales, that ability also to listen to what is not said, listen to the heart. Yes, we love to say that in leadership, you listen to what is not being said. You read what is not written there. Yeah. And you'll be able to find out what the actual problem is. You remember when we were talking about even handling objections. So that is very important contribution. You will go to people who will lecture you in your own subject, which is a good thing. And more so if they perceive that they are more years, they are older than you, you are likely to experience that. But again, some of that might be part of a feedback into building us, how we can be better next time.
Yes, I am.
Yes. Say something.
Thank you so much, Paul Peter. Today, I think I decided to do much of listening than talking, but I think it's a great topic on problem solving, and it has taken me back to, of course, the memories about the Giants team. I still remember they're very vivid. And when it comes to problem solving, I think for me, I've been sometimes in positions of leadership, and sometimes as a leader, you find yourself in a position where you have several issues, issues to resolve here and there, and the approach that you've given is pretty in order. Of course, getting to know the problem and also identifying the right source of the solution, where to get guidance from. And it's an example. Sometimes I like giving that if I want mangoes, I can't go to a passion fruit tree and expect to get mangoes. It's the same way. I remember when I was importing my first car, before I imported my first car, I decided to consult friends and relatives who, of course, did not own any. And of course, you can imagine the kind of advice I got. With the car, it's going to be very expensive, fuel, you can get an accident, and, insurance things. And for some time, I listened to them, and it really discouraged me. But then at some point, I had to look at myself and say, "What? They're giving me all this, but I'm a person with a disability who public transport is a major issue, is a major problem for me." So until I consulted the right people and also put the problem that I had was not only about the use of public transport, it's also the convenience, my own convenience, which was the issue, and consulted the right people. Then I was able to make the right decision, and of course went for what I needed, and that resolved a lot of my problems. So if you want a mango today, don't visit an orange tree. You will be disappointed. Go to where the mango tree is and you get your juicy mangoes. Thank you, Paul Peter.
Thank you very much. Yes, sometimes we end up inheriting people's fears. They transfer their fears to us because we consulted them, and that's quite important. Thank you for sharing. I want to say two final things. One, we talked about consulting even people who failed in something, and all that we need to do is ask them what they think caused them to fail, or how they did it. And if we've learned how they did it, and we know that they didn't get the results that they were looking for, then we know how not to do it. A good example is how Thomas Edison tried more than 10,000 times to look for a solution for the electric lighting. And he said those were not ways to do it. So I just learned how not to do it. And that is a lesson that you can learn from people who've tried it and failed. I tried 3 times. What did you do? I did this, didn't work. I did this, didn't. Now you know what not to do. Yeah. Another thing that we mentioned was something that is a formula that I adopted a long time ago and very dear to me. It is R equals T plus A. Results that we are looking for, and we've been discussing this along the way, equals thoughts that we put in plus the activities. And that is very important to remember. And the thoughts that we have are a subject of what we read, what we hear, what we've built in our minds over the years, our beliefs, and everything else. So we must be careful what gets into our minds. Now, it's time, and so maybe we'll just concluding. And one is Well, we will proceed with this particular chapter. The next section is also very interesting. Activity. How do you act? How do you take action?